Well, here we are on the set of Donna and Friends, and Bobby Bryant, you've brought something special in to adorn my set with today, and I'm very excited.
Thank you, Donna. Yes, I have. This is just 2 of the military branch blankets that we'll be giving away to veterans on the 16th and 17th of December for the Payne County Forgotten Warriors.
Now, that's a really special program, and that's really the main reason I invited you in, because it is the holiday season. Christmas will soon be upon us, and I think this is a wonderful program for the Forgotten Warriors. And I would like you to kind of tell me the history of this and how long you've been involved with it, how long it's been going on.
The program actually started in late 2008, and we received some money from a sorority out of OSU to fund it the first time. Since then, we've been very honored to have local businesses, provide funds to do what we do. And so it's kind of grown because I think, I'm trying to remember the numbers. If I remember the first year, there was only like 35 or 40 veterans that were served. What we did is called Payne County Forgotten Warriors because we take care of all the rest homes in Payne County. And of course, some have a lot more veterans than others, depending on where they're at. But it's grown because we reached out. Initially, we weren't doing the 6, we were just doing 2 or 3. And so it's grown a lot. This year, we're probably going to be serving about 65 to 70 veterans. And during the holiday season especially, it's pretty doggone sad, I think, because there's a lot of them that do not have any family. If they do have family, they're not close. They're not close in proximity. So we reach out and we want to provide them with gifts and then let them know that we care, that the community thinks about them. This is all done, of course, through American Legion Post 108 here in Cushing. And it has gained some notoriety, I have to tell you, because American Legion National is now interested in the program. So I'm very happy about that. I'm very pleased. But this year, like I said, we'll be serving 65 to 70 and in the 6 rest homes. And the real thing is, the American Legion does this, our post does this. But what really makes this very emotional for a lot of the veterans and their families, if they're there, is the fact that we do have the gifts and we put everything together and we coordinate with the rest homes. But we actually have active duty military personnel in uniform, in full dress uniform, hand these off. So if they were Marines, a Marine hands it off to them. If they were Navy, the Navy hands it off. And it gets very emotional.
Well, I'm very emotional just envisioning something like that happening and what it must be like to be walking into a nursing home, for example, and being pointed out as to what the veterans are you're going to be communicating with, and for them to see that.
Yeah, and we try to make it very special for them. We've had in some of the rest homes the veteran cannot actually get out of bed, so we will, if it's say Air Force, we'll give the gift bag and everything to the Air Force personnel. They will actually go to the rooms, they'll be led to the room, and they will present the gift in person. We don't want to forget anyone. And you always have occasions where things just don't end up the way you want. A couple of years ago, we had a veteran in Linwood here in Cushing. They told us how many they had and what branch they were in, so we brought the gifts for them and we brought everybody. And when we got there, this gentleman was sitting in a wheelchair down the hall, and he said, "Well, what are you guys doing?" So I told him, and he said, "Really?" He said, "Well," he said, I'm a veteran." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Come to find out, Donna, this is no joke. He was a CB in World War II and landed on Iwo Jima with the 4th Marines, but he was also in my battalion."
Oh, how ironic.
It's the only one I've ever met that was in my battalion from World War II. And so we didn't have anything. So we went back and we ordered everything. And about 10 days later, he had been released because he was in there. He had a knee replaced or something.
Wow.
And he was home. We found out where he lived and we went and gave it to him at his house.
Wow.
And that's what, we do our best to make sure we take care of everyone.
Well, and it's quite an undertaking, I'm sure, to make sure, because that is the last thing you would want, is to leave someone in the military out. That that has served for our country. And so I can imagine how touching that is, though, to be in a circumstance like that and be able to go back and still provide that.
Yeah, and it's good for us, but we can see how much it means to them. And it really means a lot. So.
How do you get your donations? I mean, do you ask for money and then you purchase the things that are needed, or are there things that people give that go along with these blankets? How does that work?
Yeah, we do ask for money, and we've been very fortunate because a lot of the folks that donate to us were either veterans themselves or maybe their dad was a veteran or whatever. I can tell you a couple of the really big supporters of ours is Doug Carson.
Okay.
And John Bryant at the bank. So the Bank of Cushing. So and Fechner Pump. They've been very gracious. There's a lot of people that give. And it's really worthwhile. It really is. I will tell you right now that I think it was 3 years ago. We gave there was a rest home in Stillwater, and we gave it. It was a Marine, and I found they called me about 6-7 months later and said that he had passed away, and that his last wish was to have that blanket buried with him.
Oh.
So that's how emotional this can be, and we do the very best we can.
If there are viewers out there right now that this is maybe the first time they've even heard that this is going on, and it is relatively new when we think about it, as it being started in 2008.
It is.
And that's part of why we've got you on the show today, to try to get the word out. But if they wanted to donate to this cause, Bobby, how would they go about that?
The best thing to do is just give me a call. I'm at 918-399-3026, and we would appreciate it. I mean, it's, we need to carry this on. And I would, at some point, I would like to see it go statewide. I mean, I don't think I'm in a position to do that right now, but we need to take care of our veterans. And these are veterans that can no longer really help themselves, And of course, they're not even on a fixed income anymore, they're just surviving.
Absolutely. This is really right around the time when we think about also, in the month of December, we think about Pearl Harbor Day.
Mm-hmm.
Speak to me briefly on your thoughts of Pearl Harbor Day, what it means to you.
Well, it's extremely important. It's more important to the World War II vets or their children, which I'm one of, and you are too. And so it's a lot more important. Vietnam, of course, is uppermost on my mind, but Pearl Harbor Day, and very, very few people give any significance to that anymore like they used to. It's like we just kind of waded through all of these conflicts and wars, and we seem to forget the greatest generation. And I always pay homage to them when I'm doing my Memorial Day and my Veterans Day stuff, because a lot of these rest homes I go to for Veterans Day and Memorial Day too. I go and do a presentation for them. And so one of the things is that's really important to me.
Yes, so many people don't really think much of Pearl Harbor Day in the way of remembrance.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, like we celebrate Veterans Day, but Pearl Harbor Day is a very important day.
Well, that was still U.S. soil.
Yes.
And people talk about 9/11. Well, what about Pearl Harbor Day? I mean, we lost a lot more people in Pearl Harbor.
Absolutely. Pearl Harbor Day is the original 9/11.
It really is.
And
not to take anything away from that.
Exactly, but I don't
That's
think
important.
people really relate or understand that.
And keep in mind, too, that this was the military themselves that were being hit.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, the one in the 9/11 was basically civilians, or it could have been some Army or Navy personnel in the building. But basically, they were just trying to take out the trade centers.
Well, it's always an important day to me in the way of thinking about veterans. And I wanted to bring that up for that reason, because it's right here, this week. And so we need to remember that. I think people need to understand the importance of Pearl Harbor Day, just like we do 9/11 as well.
Oh, you know what? We have to know our history.
Yes.
If we know our history, we know what's really important, And I will share with you that I did 2 tours to Vietnam in combat, and I was just a kid. But I went because I had heard all these stories, not about how glorious it was, but how the nation came together and defeated these 2 entities with help from other countries. And so when I joined the Navy, that was my thought was, I'm going to defend this country. Well, you know, when I came home, a lot of people didn't feel that way.
Right.
And so it changed a lot of us, and a lot of us haven't spoken about anything for years.
Yes.
And I was one of those. I didn't do anything for many, many years.
And that is the way of our veterans' minds so much of the time these days, because war is not something that you were always respected for when you got out. Unfortunately, after fighting for our country and defending our freedom, it was almost like you were a problem because you served in some people's opinions. And if it were not for you and all of the bazillion other veterans, we would not have our freedom today.
Yeah,
Bobby, I'd like to have you come back and talk more about that as we go into 2015. But again, the Forgotten Warrior program is something that's very, very special to you, to also the American Legion, and I just want to thank you for remembering the veterans that are in the nursing homes.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, and they will too.
And we have the information up on the screen if you would like to help with this program. Bobby, thanks so much for coming in.